So Steam. You know, the same Steam that's the world's biggest and best PC gaming platform? Yeah, that's Steam. So it's well known for having this great refund policy where you can refund any game, no questions asked. There are, however, a few caveats. First of all, to refund a game on Steam, you'll need to have owned it for less than a total of 2 weeks, or 14 days. And second, and most important to this video, you need to have a total playtime of under 2 hours. So I thought, hey, it might be fun to play new games that I have zero experience with, play it for less than 2 hours total, and see if it passes the test of being a decent enough game to continue playing despite knowing that I'll no longer be able to refund it. Without further ado, this is the Steam Refund Review. And today we will be reviewing Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley is a 2016 farming simulator surprisingly made by a single person who calls himself Concerned Ape. Before you say anything, yes, I know this is a massively popular game and I'm probably way too late getting into this one, but hey, if you ask me, it's never too late to try a game. So the Steam description for Stardew Valley reads, "You've inherited your grandfather's old farm plot in Stardew Valley. Armed with hand-me-down tools and a few coins, you set out to begin your new life. Can you learn to live off the land and turn these overgrown fields into a thriving home?" I've been wanting to get into this game for a while now, and I'm glad this review series has helped me to finally be able to jump into it. Now, if Farming Simulator sounds boring to you, let me just say based on my 119 minutes of gameplay so far, this game has so much more under the surface. If you're somehow like me and never played the game, just know that while it may sound boring based on the description, it's a lot more interesting and fun than what the description may lead you to believe. Alright, so to start, we're introduced to a surprisingly in-depth character creator. After naming my character and telling the game what my favorite thing was, I continued on to make a hippie-looking guy who definitely gives off organic crop-grown vibes. I then picked my animal of choice for some reason and began my adventure. And the beginning of this game was kind of depressing, to be honest. So at the start of the game, your character is talking to your granddad on his literal deathbed. He gives you a letter, but says not to open it until you feel like the stresses of modern life are beginning to weigh too heavily on you or something like that. Now, if this was me in real life, I'd probably open the letter right away. But your character waits a few years to do so. After working in what is clearly a terrible corporate job at a company that has a logo suspiciously similar to Amazon's, your character decides to finally open the letter. The letter details that your granddad has left you his family farm in a place called Stardew Valley, hence the title. Your character then takes a trip to the titular location to begin his or her new life. At the start of the game, I didn't know exactly what I was supposed to do, but what I appreciated about this game in the beginning is as you speak to different NPCs and discover new things around the valley, the game uncovers more and more details as to what you're supposed to do in the game. It's not quite hand-holdy, but it really helps to be able to jump into it. Here were some of my initial impressions within the first few minutes of the game. Obviously, these graphics aren't sensational or anything. This game could probably run on a Super Nintendo, but there's something to be said about the pixelated graphics. They really bring out the nostalgia of video games for me, and Concerned Ape did a great job making this game look awesome, even with the minimalistic graphics. As far as the gameplay, I wasn't excited necessarily to play a farming sim in the beginning, but luckily I found out later down the road that there's a lot more to this game than just farming. But yeah, in the beginning I was kind of dreading this. Now, the setting, however, was sensational. I like how peaceful Stardew Valley feels. I feel like this game is one that I could just come to when I need to clear my head and relax due to its calming nature and peaceful environments. You would be surprised by the amount of things you're able to do in this game by basically just moving and using one button to interact and another button to perform an action based on what you're holding. The basics of the game are this. You seem to have a limited amount of time and energy in one day to go around and do basically whatever you want. Now, at the end of the day, you can choose to put all your items in this magical box of profit, that will provide you with gold after you fall asleep, which you can use to buy upgrades to your farm, buy crops, or get better gear for your farm. Your main goal is seemingly to fix up your granddad's farm and become a profitable farmer. At least that's how it seems in the beginning, but as I played more and more, it seemed like there are a lot more goals to discover down the road. As a farming simulator, one of the first things I did naturally was clear some land so I could plant some seeds. After a few days, it seemed that my seeds weren't doing too much but just sitting on the ground, but then I noticed this watering can in my inventory. I went ahead and watered away, and the next thing I knew, I had little sprouts. I'm a little embarrassed about how excited this made me, but I was well on my way to becoming a fully fledged farmer. You'd be mistaken if you thought that this was the basis of the whole game though. As you go along, you'll meet some pretty cool NPCs that have a surprising amount of personality for being made with just 16-bit graphics. At least that's what I'm assuming this is. So one NPC sold me some new crops to grow, another gave me a fishing pole and taught me to fish, and then this other one was a wizard who used magic to help me become one with the forest or something like that. So yeah, just some pretty normal everyday interactions with people in a small town. It seems like you're able to grow your relationships with the NPCs as you go along the way. I'm assuming by conversing with them every day or something. But I mean, aside from the basic farming and life simulator type stuff where you can talk to people and likely date people in the future, there's a small, or rather large actually, list of things that you can get into in the game as well, such as fishing, foraging for different plants and vegetables, engaging in some light combat in the mines, completing quests or tasks for different NPCs to get rewarded for some gold, picking up seashells on the beach, crafting new items and decorations for your farm, and sneaking into a homeless dude's tent to make some friendly conversation. Something that kind of surprised me about the game was the light RPG elements. Sometimes at the end of the day I'd get a notification that my character leveled up a certain stat, but the stats you level aren't typical RPG stats. Instead, you'll level up things like your fishing skills, your foraging skills, your farming skills, and so on. As you upgrade these skills, it seems that you'll unlock new items related to the skill, such as bait for fishing or fertilizer for farming, which helps you to grow crops better, stuff like that. Something else that kind of surprised me was the fact that there were some combat elements included. I was not expecting that. I was given a worn out sword by some dude that leads an adventurers guild, and then I used that to slay some slimes and bugs and these weird walking rock things on my way down the mines. Like other skills, you seem to also be able to level up combat, which I assume will increase your attack power and maybe even health down the line? I'm not sure, I didn't get that far. I will say one thing in the game that surprised me was that I struggled with energy management quite a bit. You only have a limited amount of energy, and I learned the hard way that you don't want to run out of energy before going to sleep for the day. The very first day I played, I didn't even know that energy was a thing, so I was chopping down trees and didn't even realize the dwindling energy bar. I ended up passing out from exhaustion, and apparently I got pickpocketed by somebody on my own property before being found by the mayor, who helped me into my bed. Honestly, I think the mayor's kind of sus because, I mean, he's the one that stole my hard-earned gold. I just know it. I just know that he just went into my pockets when I was incapacitated. Another thing I had to learn the hard way was that apparently if you don't go to bed before 2 a.m., your character automatically passes out and gets taken care of by the doctor, who then charges you in the mail for his services. If you ask me, this is clearly a malpractice case just waiting to happen, since the doctor somehow managed to put me back in my own bed on my own property while I was still unconscious. You'd think he'd let me stay in his clinic for some observation at least until I woke up, but you know, whatever. Towards the end of my 2 hours, I was introduced to the community center where I met these weird, cute ghost things called Junimos. These creatures seemed to only be noticeable by me and had written in foreign gibberish on these weird tablets in the community center building. And after talking to the wizard, I discovered that the tablets detailed items I needed to find to be able to supply the community center, which I could only assume would help to rebuild it. I couldn't quite tell based on my game time that was cut short by the refund window, but this seemed to be a pretty important part of the game. I guess we'll see going forward if I continue to play. Even though I only played for a total of 119 minutes, there were obviously so many more things I could do in this game and so much more that I could touch on. I can just tell that this is one of those games that has an endless amount of things to do and hours to pour into it. So as far as value goes, this game is priced at $15 on Steam, and I've seen it on sale on more than one occasion. Honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but based on initial impressions, I think that's a little too low to ask for a game like this, based on the amount of things you can do, and the clearly massive amount of time you can pour into this game based on howlongtobeat.com and some Steam reviews I saw. I'm kinda shocked that this game is priced so low for the amount of content and enjoyment it seems to be able to provide. Yeah, I've probably already spoiled it by now, but does it seem like I'm gushing? It kind of feels like I'm gushing. The first hour I played, I was thinking to myself how boring this was going to be if it was just chopping down trees, plowing the land, planting seeds, and pouring water on the seeds every day. But then after about 80 minutes, I found myself freaking out because I wanted to keep playing, and I knew I only had less than 40 minutes left to do so. The reason I spent 119 minutes playing this one is because I couldn't help but play up to the very last minute. I couldn't put my controller down to save my life. This game is just like so zen. I felt this overwhelming sense of relaxation and comfort wash over me as I played. At risk of sounding sappy here, this last week has actually been a pretty stressful one for me, and after playing this game I felt almost grounded again in some way for some reason. As I closed the game, I found myself wanting to play just one more day before I had to stop, but alas, for the purpose of this review, I could not. This game, honestly, it's phenomenal. For something that was put together by just one person, it's insane. To give this game a rating on my first impressions, I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. I'm pretty blown away by it so far. Obviously, when it comes down to replay it or refund it, I want to replay it, like, a lot. I can't wait to jump back in and see what else this game is going to throw at me and how my farm will shape up after a few more months of hard work. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back to playing it right now. So thanks for watching, and I hope you'll subscribe if you enjoy this review. I can't wait to do more of these, but first, I gotta play more Stardew Valley. Supermerse out.